graders, it's Miss Literal, Charlotte's Web, chapter number 12, a meeting. One evening, a few days after the writing had appeared in Charlotte's Web, the spider called a meeting to all the animals in the barn cellar. I shall begin by calling the roll. Wilbur, here, said the pig. Gander, here, 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 said the gander. You sound like three ganders, muttered Charlotte. Why can't you just say here? Why do you have to repeat everything? It's my sequency, replied the gander. Goose, said Charlotte. Here, 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 said the goose. Charlotte glared at her. Goslings 1 through 7. Beep, 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 said the goslings. This is getting to be quite the meeting, said Charlotte. Anybody would think that we now have 3 ganders, 3 geese, and 21 goslings. Sheep? Ah, the sheep all answered together. Lambs? Ah, the lambs all answered together. Templeton? Templeton? No answer. Templeton? No answer. Well, I guess we're all here except the rat, said Charlotte. I guess we can proceed without him. Now, all of you must have noticed what's going on around here the last few days. The message I wrote in my web praising Wilbur has been well received. The Zuckermans have fallen for it, and so has everyone else. Zuckerman thinks that Wilbur is an unusual pig, and therefore he won't want to kill him and eat him. I dare say my trick will work, and Wilbur's life can be saved. Hooray! Hooray! Everyone cried. Thank you very much, said Charlotte. Now I called this meeting in order to get some suggestions. I need a new idea for the web. People are already getting sick of reading the words some pig. If anybody can think of another message or remark, I'll be glad to weave it into the web. Any suggestions for a new slogan? How about Supreme Pig, said one of the lambs. No good, said Charlotte. It sounds like a rich dessert. How about terrific, said the goose. Let's cut that down to 1 terrific, and that will do nicely, said Charlotte. I think terrific might impress Zuckerman. But Charlotte, said Wilbur, I'm not terrific. That doesn't make 1 particle of difference, replied Charlotte. Not a particle. People believe almost anything they see in print. Does anybody here know how to spell terrific? I think, said the gander, it's double T, double E, double R, double I, double F, double C, 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 C. What kind of an acrobat do you think I am, said Charlotte in disgust. I think I would have to do the St. Verdi's dance to weave a word like that into my web. Sorry, said the gander. When the sheep spoke, I agree that something new should be written in the web if Wilbur's life is to be saved. And if Charlotte needs help finding the words, I think she can get help from our friend Templeton. The rat visits the dump regularly and he has access to old magazines. He can tear out bits of advertisements and bring them here to the barn cellar so that Charlotte can have something to copy. Very good idea, said Charlotte. But I'm not so sure Templeton will be willing to help. You know how he is, always looking out for himself, never thinking of the other fellow. I bet I can get him to help, said the old sheep. I'll appeal to his baser instincts, of which he has plenty. Here he comes now. Everyone keep quiet while I put the matter up to him. The rat entered the barn the way he always did, creeping along close to the wall. What's up, he asked, seeing all the animals assembled. We're holding a director's meeting, replied the old sheep. Well, break it up, said Templeton. Meetings bore me. And the rat began to climb the rope that hung against the wall. Look, said the old sheep. The next time you go to the dump, Templeton, bring back a clipping from a magazine. Charlotte needs new ideas so she can write messages in her web and save Wilbur's life. Let him die, said the rat. Why should I worry? You'll worry all right when next winter comes, said the sheep. You'll worry all right when it's 0 in the morning in January and Wilbur's dead and nobody comes down with a nice pail of warm slops to pour in your trough. Wilbur's leftover food is your chief source of supply, Templeton. You know that. Wilbur's food is your food. Therefore, Wilbur's destiny and your destiny are closely linked. If Wilbur is killed and his food trough stays empty day after day, you'll grow so thin that we can look right through your stomach and see objects on the other side. Templeton's whiskers began to quaver. Maybe you're right, he said gruffly. I'm making a trip to the dump tomorrow afternoon. I'll bring back a magazine clipping if I can find one. Thanks, said Charlotte. The meeting is now adjourned. I have a very busy evening ahead of me. I've got to tear the web apart and write terrific. Wilbur blushed. But I'm not terrific, Charlotte. I'm just about an average pig. You're terrific as far as I'm concerned, replied Charlotte sweetly, and that's what counts. You're my best friend, and I think you're sensational. Now stop arguing and go get some sleep. Far into the night, while all the other creatures slept, Charlotte worked on her web. First, she ripped out a few of the orb lines near the center, and she left the radio lines alone as they were needed for support. As she worked, her 8 legs were a great help to her. So were her teeth. She loved to weave, and she was an expert at it. When she finished ripping things out, her web looked something like this. A spider can produce several kinds of threads. She uses dry, tough thread for foundation lines. She uses sticky thread for snare lines. Those are the ones that catch and hold insects. Charlotte decided to use her dry thread for writing the new message. If I write the word terrific with sticky thread, she thought, every bug that comes along will get stuck in it and spoil the effect. Now let's see. The first letter is T. Charlotte climbed to the point at the top left side of the web. Swinging her spinnerets into position, she attached the thread and dropped down. As she dropped, her spinning tubes went into action and she let out the thread. At the bottom, she attached the thread and it formed the upright part of the letter T. Charlotte was not satisfied, however. She climbed up and made another attachment right there next to the first. Then she carried the line down so that she had a double line instead of a single line. This will show it better if I make the whole thing with double lines. She climbed back up and moved about an inch to the left and touched her spinnerets to the web and then carried a line across to the right, forming the top of the T. She repeated this, making it double. Her 8 legs were very busy helping. Now for the letter E. Charlotte got so interested in the work, she began to talk to herself, as though to cheer herself on. If you'd been sitting quietly in the barn cellar on that evening, you would have heard something like this. Now for the R. Up we go. Attach to sin. Pay out the line. Whoa, whoa, attach. Good. Up you go. Repeat. Attach to sin. Pay out the line. Whoa, girl. Steady. Now attach. Climb. Attach. Over to the right. Pay a little out. Attach. Now right down and swing the loop round and round. Now to the left. Attach. Climb. Repeat. Okay. Easy. Let those lines together. Now out and then we go again for the left of the R and pay out the line. Whoa, whoa, attach to sin. Repeat, good girl. And so talking to herself, the spider worked at her difficult task. When it was completed, she felt hungry. She ate a small bug that she'd been saving, and then she slept. The next morning, Wilbur arose and stood beneath the web. He breathed the morning air into his lungs, and drops of dew, catching the sun, made the web stand out clearly. When Lurvy arrived with his breakfast, there was the handsome pig, and over him, woven neatly in block letters, was the word terrific. Another miracle. Lurvy rushed and called Mr. Zuckerman, and Mrs. Zuckerman rushed and called Mrs. Zuckerman, and Mrs. Zuckerman ran to the phone and called the Arbles. And the Arbles climbed into the truck and hurried over. Everybody stood at the pig pen and stared at the web and read the word over and over, while Wilbur, who felt terrific, stood quietly, swelling out his chest and swinging his snout from side to side. Terrific, breathed Zuckerman in joyful admiration. Edith, you better phone the reporter of the Weekly Chronicle and tell him what's happened. He will want to know all about this. He may want to bring a photographer. There isn't a pig in the whole state that is as terrific as our pig. The news spread. People who had journeyed to see Wilbur when he was some pig came back to see him again now that he was terrific. That afternoon, when Mr. Zuckerman went to milk the cow and clean up the tie-ups, he was thinking about what a wondrous pig he owned. "Lurvy! Lurvy!" he called. "There's to be no more cow manure thrown down into that pig pen. I have a terrific pig, and I want that pig to have clean, bright straw every day for bedding. Understand?" "Yes, sir," said Lurvy. "Furthermore," said Zuckerman, "I want you to start building a crate for Wilbur. I've decided to take him to the county fair on September the 6th. Make a large crate and paint it green with gold letters." "What should the letters say?" said Lurvy. "They should say, Zuckerman's famous pig." Lurvy picked up a pitchfork and walked away to get some clean straw. Having such an important pig was going to mean plenty of extra work. He could see that. Below the apple orchard at the end of the path was a dump where Mr. Zuckerman threw all sorts of trash and stuff that no one wanted anymore. Here in a small clearing hid by the young alders and the wild raspberry bushes was an astonishing pile of old bottles, empty tin cans, dirty rags, bits of metal, broken bottles, broken hinges, broken springs, dead batteries, and last month's magazines, old discarded dish mops, tattered overalls, rusty spikes in leaky pails, and forgotten stoppers, useless junks of all kinds, including the wrong size crank for a broken ice cream freezer. Templeton knew the dump and liked it. There were good hiding places there, excellent cover for a rat. There was usually a tin can with food still clinging inside. Templeton was down there rummaging around when he returned to the barn, and he carried in his mouth an advertisement he had torn from a crumpled magazine. "How's this?" he said, showing the ad to Charlotte. "It says crunchy, crunchy, crunchy. That would be good to write in your web." "Just the wrong idea," replied Charlotte. "Couldn't be worse. We don't want Zuckerman to think about Wilbur as crunchy. He might start thinking about crisp, crunchy bacon and tasty ham. That would put ideas into his head. We must advertise Wilbur's noble qualities, not his tastiness. Get another word, please, Templeton." The rat looked disgusted, but he sneaked away to the dump and was back in a while with a strip of cotton cloth. "How's this? It's the label off an old shirt." Charlotte examined the label, and it said, "Pre-shrunk." "I'm sorry, Templeton," she said, "but pre-shrunk is simply out of the question. We want Zuckerman to think Wilbur is nicely filled out, not all shrunk up. I have to ask you to try again." "What do you think I am, a messenger boy?" grumbled the rat. "I'm not going to spend all my time chasing up and down to the dump after advertising material." "Just once more, please," said Charlotte. "I'll tell you what I'll do," said Templeton. "I know where there's a package of soap flakes in the woodshed, and it has writing on it. I'll bring you a piece of the package." He climbed the rope that hung on the wall and disappeared through a hole in the ceiling. When he came back, he had a strip of blue and white cardboard in his teeth. "There," he said triumphantly. "Now how's that?" Charlotte read the words, "With new, radiant action." "What does it mean?" Charlotte asked, who had never used any soap flakes in her life. "How should I know?" said Templeton. "You asked me for words, and I brought them to you. I suppose the next thing you'll want me to fetch is a dictionary?" Together they studied the soap ad. "With radiant action. With radiant action," Charlotte repeated slowly. "Wilbur, Wilbur," she called out. Wilbur, who was asleep in the straw, jumped up. "Run around," commanded Charlotte. "I want to see you in action. I want to see if you are radiant." Wilbur raced to the end of his yard. "Now back again, faster," said Charlotte. Wilbur galloped back, His skin shone, his tail with a fine, tight curl in it. "Jump into the air," cried Charlotte. Wilbur jumped as high as he could. "Keep your knees out straight and touch the ground with your ears," it's called Charlotte. Wilbur obeyed. "Do a backflip with a half twist in it," cried Charlotte. Wilbur went over backwards, writhing and twisting as he went. "Okay, Wilbur," said Charlotte. "You can go back to sleep." "Okay, Templeton, the soap ad will do nicely. I guess I'm not sure that Wilbur's action is actually radiant, but it's very interesting." "Actually," said Wilbur, "I feel radiant." "Do you?" said Charlotte, looking at him with affection. "You're certainly a good little pig, and radiant you shall be. I'm in this thing pretty deep now, and I might as well go to the limit." Tired from his romp, Wilbur lay down in the clean straw and closed his eyes. But the straw seemed scratchy and not comfortable as the cow manure, which was always delightful and soft to lie in. So he pushed the straw to one side and stretched out in the manure. Wilbur sighed. It had been a busy day. For the first day of being terrific, dozens of people had visited the yard during the afternoon, and he had to stand and pose, looking as terrific as he could. Now he was tired. Fern had arrived and seated herself quietly on the stool in the corner. "Tell me a story, Charlotte," said Wilbur, as he lay waiting for sleep to come. "Tell me a story." So Charlotte, although she was very tired too, did what Wilbur wanted. "Once upon a time," she began, "I had a beautiful cousin who managed to build her web across a small stream. One day a tiny fish leaped into the air and got tangled in her web. And my cousin, who was very much surprised, of course, the fish was thrashing around wildly. My cousin hardly dared to tackle it, but she did. She swooped down and threw a great mass of wrapping material around the fish and fought it bravely to capture it." "Did she succeed?" Wilbur asked. "It was a never-to-be-forgotten battle," said Charlotte. "There the fish, caught by only one fin and its tail wildly thrashing about and shining in the sun. And there was the web sagging dangerously under the weight of the fish." "How much did the fish weigh?" asked Wilbur eagerly. "I don't know," said Charlotte. "There was my little cousin, slipping in, dodging out, beating mercilessly over her head by the wild thrashing fish, dancing in, dancing out, throwing her threads, fighting hard. First she threw a left around the tail, and the fish lashed out back. Then a left to the tail and a right to the midsection, and the fish lashed back. Then she dodged one side and threw to the right, and another to the fin. Then a hard to the left and to the head, and the web swayed and stretched." "Then what happened?" asked Wilbur. "Nothing," said Charlotte. "The fish lost the fight. My cousin wrapped it up so tight it couldn't budge." "Then what happened?" asked Wilbur. "Nothing," said Charlotte. "My cousin kept the fish for a while, and then, when she got good and ready, she ate it." "Aw, tell me another story," begged Wilbur. So Charlotte told him about another cousin of hers who was an aeronaut. "What's an aeronaut?" asked Wilbur. "A balloonist," said Charlotte. "My cousin used to stand on her head and let out enough thread to form a balloon. Then she'd let go and be lifted into the air and carried upward on the warm wind." "Is that true?" asked Wilbur. "Or are you just making that up?" "Oh, it's true," replied Charlotte. "I have some very remarkable cousins. And now, Wilbur, it's time that you went to sleep." "Sing something," Wilbur begged, closing his eyes. So Charlotte sang a lullaby while the crickets chirped and the grass in the barn grew dark. This is the song she sang. "Sleep, sleep, my love, my only, deep, deep in the dung and the dark. Be not afraid, be not lonely. This is the hour when the frogs and the thrushes praise the world from the woods and the rushes. Rest from care, my one and only, deep in the dung and the dark." But Wilbur was already asleep. When the song ended, Fern got up and went home. We've got to stop there, guys. I hope you enjoyed those chapters.